Good morning, everybody. I am Kerwin Charles, the Dean of the Yale School of Management. Welcome. Welcome to the commencement ceremonies for graduates of the Masters in Public Education Management program here at Yale SOM. I want to extend a special welcome and thanks to the families and friends of the graduates who join us today. Without your support of these graduates, they could not have reached this milestone. So I thank you on their behalf. Let me also thank, on behalf of the graduates and on my personal behalf, the faculty members who are here today, who've taught in this program and devoted their efforts productively to its success. Thank you. Graduates, I also want to thank the incredible staff of TBC at SOM and the other staff members of Yale SOM more generally. Yeah. Whose attention and thoughtful work and all the rest, hard work, has made your time here productive and enjoyable. Thanks to them all. Our commencement ceremony today celebrates the achievement of a remarkable cohort of education leaders drawn from around the country. School districts are represented among you graduates. Providence, Indianapolis, Houston. Some of you come from the public charter school system. Mastery, Democracy Prep, KIPP. Yet others of you are from state education agencies. Washington, D.C., Texas. Yeah. Over the last year, you graduates have been essential members of our community, throwing yourself with vigor and enthusiasm, not only into your learning and coursework, but also into the life of the school more generally. For example, you attended outside lectures with MBAs, such as the one by the distinguished Yale law professor Justin Driver, where he discussed the history of affirmative action in the Supreme Court. You enriched our community through your joint efforts with the SOM Education Club. You sang karaoke. Yeah. You sang advisedly. Let's say you did karaoke at a New Haven pizza joint. You got your Yale swag, which you wear happily and often. It has been an absolute delight having you among us, and we will miss you. Today, you become members of a large and active community. Really, it's a sort of blend of two communities. You become members of both the Broad and the SOM alumni community. The work you do every day as leaders in public education is often challenging, sometimes not sufficiently appreciated, but always, always, always essential. The knowledge you provide your students and the talents and capacities that you help them discover and learn to develop and unleash will be the engines that, to a large degree, determine the future course of our society. That our school, SOM, produces graduates such as you, devoted to the important work in which you are engaged, fills us all with immense pride. And you help us deliver upon SOM's foundational and essential mission to train leaders for business and society. You powerfully embody our loftiest aspirations as a school. We are all excited for you and will watch with admiration and pride as you apply what you've learned here at Yale on behalf of the students whose lives you enrich. Warmest congratulations, graduates. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Many, many congrats. I'm very pleased to announce our speaker for today. Superintendent Jorge Aguilar currently leads Wonderful College Prep Academy in the central San Joaquin Valley in California. He has and brings 30 years of K-12 and higher education experience with a specific focus on issues of equity and student achievement. In his previous roles, Superintendent Aguilar served as superintendent of the Sacramento City United School District. Yeah. And he was also the associate superintendent at Fresno United School District, where he founded a unique partnership with the local university, University of California, Merced. Superintendent Aguilar completed the Broad Fellowship here at SOM in 2023. Yeah. Welcome again. Congratulations again. Thanks to you all. And welcome back, Jorge.
Thank you very much, Dean Charles. Good morning, everyone. Buenos dias. I am so honored to be with you again this morning to our graduates after having had a chance to spend some time with you yesterday in your last session of this wonderful program. Congratulations on this important step in your careers as graduates of the Yale's Masters in Public Education Management program. Congratulations. And congratulations to your loved ones who are here with you today for their sacrifices and their support in your journeys. Can we give them a round of applause as well? I know about those sacrifices after having completed the Broad Fellowship program and leaving my wife to tend to the demands of raising our 4 children while I traveled to Yale for a year. And at one point she said, "Are you sure you're going to Yale?" Anyway, thank you to Assistant Dean Hansol Kang and the entire Broad Center team for inviting me to deliver these remarks. It's great to see Colleen and David and Emma. Can we give them a round of applause as well? This morning, I want to frame my comments through a recent incident involving one of my favorite cousins, Fernando. We call him Fernie, who's about 15 years older than me, but has been a constant in my life since I was born. And Fernie is a kid at heart and gets along wonderfully with our 17-year-old twins. And he visits us from time to time and came over from Tijuana to visit us in June. And we had a great time. And this is just a plug. I'm not an active TikTok user, but during that trip, my oldest daughter, filmed a couple of videos, and his videos have almost 1 million views. And so you can imagine how much he's a kid at heart. Anyway, I had to return a rental car at the airport, and I asked him if he'd follow me there and take us home in his car. And it was already late at night, and at some point I lost him through my rearview mirror, just a quarter mile away from our first exit. And I pulled off the highway after exiting, and I called him. And he told me that his car had begun to stall and that he noticed that the temperature gauge had shot up to the hot point. And he had pulled off the highway, and he told me that the needle on his instrument cluster had come back down and that he tried to get to the airport, which was about 1 mile away. And so I decided to wait until I saw him and kept driving for about another quarter mile when he called me again and told me that the needle had shot back up to the hot point. And literally within walking distance from the National rental car place, and that's not a plug for National at all, I told him to pull into the gas station. And you know that gas station that we all have to put gas because we don't do it on time. And yesterday when I flew here, gas was $4.89 at that gas station because they charge whatever they want to charge. And I've always enjoyed working on cars, and I just finished restoring my 1989 four-wheel drive Toyota pickup. So my mind just started going, like, what happened to Fernie's car? And I could have framed my comments, by the way, on why I treasure this 1989 Toyota pickup truck. It's the truck that I always wanted when I was in high school, but my parents would have never been able to afford. So I ended up buying it during law school, and it's taken me about 30 years to restore that truck. But anyway, sorry for the digression, and back to Fernie's story. I popped the hood on his car and saw a piece of engine belt, and also saw that the water pump pulley was stuck, which meant that the radiator fluid wasn't going through the engine, and that's why it was overheating. And I used some zip ties and MacGyvered a solution, returned to the rental, and made it home with Fernie just before the car overheated again. Raise your hand if you've heard of MacGyver. All right, good, all right. So I'm not that old. The next morning, we replaced the water pump, filled the radiator, and Fernie was on his way back safely to Tijuana from Fresno. But during his 8-hour trip back home, he called me literally about 4 or 5 times to tell me that the temperature gauge was holding steady right at the midpoint between cold and hot. And I immediately thought of Deb Chatra's quote, "If you don't schedule time for maintenance, your equipment will do it for you." In essence, things degrade over time, so we can either proactively maintain them or wait until they demand it. Of course, you know that in your roles, this applies to your bodies and your minds as well. And I saw Mark at the workout room this morning, so good job, Mark. But having served in senior roles in K-12 and higher education, but especially as superintendent for the last 7 years, I thought of my cousin Fernie's story as the most appropriate example to convey the theme of my remarks to you as you continue in your career journeys. And here it is. You are the needle. You are the needle that my cousin Fernie stared at on his instrument cluster all the way home, especially going up the Grapevine on I-5. The difference is that the gauge you control is much, much more significant, for it represents whether or not we demonstrate the courage to protect those with the least amount of voice and power, students, especially our most vulnerable ones. The reality is that we rarely pay attention to our car's temperature gauges. We grow accustomed to assume that the needle will always operate at the midpoint between cold and hot. In our roles, though, we are the needles for a very different gauge, where the extremes aren't cold and hot, but rather student needs on one end and the things that we as adults want on the other end. I've not met an aspiring leader publicly assert that they wouldn't prioritize student needs over our adult wants. In fact, more and more of us are taking on these roles because our backgrounds represent the very backgrounds of the students we serve. We feel passionately that we could advocate for the needs of our students because of our lived experiences. In my case, that's how I felt when I took on my first superintendency as a first-generation college-going student whose parents immigrated from Michoacan, Mexico to work as farm workers in California's Central Valley. My dad had been incarcerated my junior year in high school, and years later was detained and put through deportation proceedings. I could share that story as well. So I was determined to serve students in marginalized communities that I could relate to. As Dean Charles said, I had served as Associate Superintendent for Equity and Access in Fresno Unified School District starting in 2009, almost 9 years prior to my first superintendency, and way before the term equity had become the new coconut water, as my colleague Ryan Smith would say. And between that experience and raising 4 children, who despite our best attempt at raising middle-income children with working-class values, I had defined equity for myself, and it already was serving as my why. And I'd concluded that equity is the following: that equity is the result of the aggregate monetary and non-monetary costs of experiential learning and social capital opportunities that my wife and I provided our children as 2 college-educated, high-income earners, and that students who I served also deserved. The numerous visits to colleges and universities, fees for preschool, summer art and dance programs, dance lessons, club sports, education first trips abroad, going to NBA games, NFL games, MLB games. In fact, my twins were at the Dodgers game this past Tuesday, and I have another one planned on September 9th. Those are just a few examples. To this day, I'm convinced that our eldest daughter, Ariana, decided to attend Berkeley because my wife and I took our children there as alumni countless times, and she must have felt confident about feeling that she belonged there as a student. Our youngest daughter, Sophia, who's 14, accompanied us on so many occasions to take our daughter back to Berkeley from our Sacramento home that she has mentioned several times that Cal is not on her list of preferred colleges. Think about that. I visited the Berkeley campus for the first time in April of my senior year before enrolling that fall semester. My dad went to Berkeley for the first time on my graduation day. And our youngest daughter got so tired of going to Berkeley that it's not on her current college list. This, of course, speaks to the power of one generation and why I define equity the way that I do. There's no reason why we should ever allow for any generation to pass before starting a cycle of generational wealth for the families we serve. Well, if you accept the tenet of my definition, the cost of providing similar experiential experiences and social capital opportunities to our most vulnerable students requires a lot of courage. For a lot of reasons, our funding structures are not built around this definition. We aren't incentivized through any grants or title programs to advance social capital or even social mobility. And unlike programs like this one or the fellowship program that I participated in here, most leaders aren't exposed to information that prepares them to effectively deal with the tension that comes from operating as the needles between student needs and adult wants. Sadly, many colleagues have come to disregard their roles serving as check and balance to ensure that the needle doesn't stray too far away from student needs. And eventually, the needle moves further and further away from the student needs point. We see this over and over in areas such as how master schedules are built, how prep periods are distributed, in contract clauses, and of course in how we structure our budgets. Truthfully, balancing the tension between student needs and adult wants should not be as hard as it is in our roles, but it is, and I get it, I lived it. But because all our systems are designed to get the results that they get, you must take time to probe, question, and seek information about the level of tension that you might encounter in positions you pursue in your respective career journeys. I've now been an associate superintendent and superintendent in 2 large urban school districts and superintendent in a smaller charter school program. And this is singularly the most important consideration I've come to identify that impacts the level of joy and pride you will feel in senior leadership roles. It will either make this work feel like heart work or hard work, very hard work. For if you inherit a system where the vast majority of your capital energy is spent on trying to be the rebalancing needles, know that there are forces that created the imbalance in the first place. And remember that culture eats strategy for lunch. But a strong strategy does have a chance to pierce through culture. If you choose to fight for students in an imbalanced system, and I hope some of you do not do it alone. If you do, you will feel alone. And you will feel very unliked. As Rojan Rajiv says, one of the harder truths to internalize in any position of leadership is that the job isn't about being liked. It's about providing clarity of vision, energy toward getting the right things done, and delivering results. Leadership is often an act of deferring the gratification of being liked in the short run for appreciation in the long run. In other words, show me where you draw your boundaries, and I'll show you your priorities. You will also be heavily criticized, and it pains me to say that your race and ethnicity won't matter, because whatever racial reckoning we've seen in the US doesn't seem to apply to underrepresented leaders in roles like ours. On those lonely days when your needle balancing work brings heavy criticisms from people that you've never even met, say this to yourself: they don't hate me, they hate who they think I am. Finally, remember that you are now part of a cadre of 31 dedicated and connected leaders that will stand by you as you become the needle balancers. My Sizzle family, that's the nickname of our cohort, has been there for me time and time again. Some of us have gone from large districts to smaller ones, some from smaller ones to larger ones, some from one sector to another, some from one state to another. Some of us have even been contacted by the same search firms. Continue to rely on one another for support. You are not alone. Remember, you are the needles. Best wishes on your career journeys. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Assistant Dean and Executive Director Hunsul Kang. You'll hear from me in a little bit, but right now I want to welcome to the stage our first student speaker, Yvonne Williams.
Good morning. Greetings to Dean Charles, to our guest speaker, Mr. Aguilar, to Hansel, the distinguished faculty of the Yale School of Management, all of the staff of the Broad Center, and to all of the friends and families here in attendance to celebrate with us today. I want to say thank you to my cohort and to my Broad family for allowing the opportunity for me to speak on behalf of all of us. It is a great, great honor for me. I ask you all to take a trip with me. Please close your eyes. Imagine you are alone in a room you cannot see. Everything is pitch black. You feel the heaviness of the air against your skin as you realize you have absolutely no idea where you are or what is happening. Your heart starts to race. You turn left, you turn right, but you can't see your own hand in front of your face. Tears start to stream hot against your cheeks as you fall to your knees. You question where those you call family and friends are, what poor choices you have made to get here, and if your faith has been in vain. And just as you sink further into your feelings of hopelessness, you hear a shuffle and a call in the distance. Hello? Hello? Grasping for air, you reply. You rise to your feet and you wipe your tears. You still may not know where you are and cannot see what is ahead, but knowing someone else is out there has given you the hope not to give up. Please open your eyes. Many of us have felt like that, lost, alone, trapped in darkness, and with no hope in the work that we do as educators. In the broader context, the world seems in constant conflict and disarray. Education has become a battlefield. Greed and war leave children around the world suffering in bondage and poverty. All too often, we see on our screens children whose lives are cut short far beyond their time. We have people in this country who don't even believe that children should be entitled to having free lunch, let alone a high-quality free education. And from the stories we have each shared with each other, each of us have poured of ourselves and given to this work in fight after fight against those who stand in the way of equity. Rarely do we leave these fights unscathed. We break in mind, body, and spirit. So why do we keep going? Why do we pick ourselves up time and time again, patch the wounds that we can, and press onward? The answer is simple yet profound: hope. For all 31 of us, hope centers us and gives us the motivation to continue. In preparation for the speech, I asked you all to share how you define hope and what it means to hold on to hope within our work as educators. Not surprisingly at all, in review of what you shared, I was reminded of what a great privilege it is to be in your company and to call you peers. So please allow me to summarize your words. Hope is a steadfast belief beyond what we can see in the physical. Belief in better even if it does not seem possible. Hope is an active state of mind, not the state of the world or the circumstances we face. It inspires us to act and work for something because it is good, despite the worst of odds. Hope is transformational. Hope is life-saving. It is seeing light through darkness. Your collective wisdom and deeds demonstrate that hope in action looks like living and leading through our values, with love at the forefront. As hopeful people, we center the needs of those we serve and those we love, continually showing up and caring for each other. Hope reminds us that there is good in people yet. Our hope inclines us to choose to be our best selves, even when we are uncertain or afraid. Hope inspires us to become agents of positive change, knowing that the smallest of actions can ripple and evoke large impact. Sometimes, it is the 1,000 tiny cracks that cause the biggest of barriers to break. With hope, we are resilient in our efforts. Hope begins intrinsically, but it flourishes in community. We have seen the evidence of that in our cohort. We have shared tears and laughter, reminding each other there is still reason to be hopeful in our work. We leave these 14 months with new knowledge, tools, and friends to reinforce our hope in a more equitable future. So, I started by asking you to close your eyes and envision yourself alone in darkness. Now I ask you to really open them and see. Envision what the world will look like when we have won. When every child has all they need to learn and grow without restriction. When we are all affirmed in our identities and let love of self and others be our foundation for community. When the work is not just done, but we can actually say it's finished. Can you see it? Can you see this vision of hope? Hold on to it until the vision of what you have in mind becomes what you see before your very eyes. Thank you. I now have the distinct pleasure of introducing my colleague and my newfound friend, Mr. Remy Fernandez.
It's a little bit easier when the auditorium's empty, so. And huge congrats and thank you for the profound words we've received today. Hard act to follow, but I'm gonna give it my best try. First and foremost, good morning, class of 2024. Dean Charles, Hansel, the SOM team, and the Bro team. Welcome, families and friends. It is the honor of a lifetime to be standing here with you today. Thank you to my Broad family for entrusting me with this opportunity to speak on your behalf. My family at Dream Charter Schools for allowing me the space and time to invest my full attention into this program, and my wife and kids for their unwavering support and love throughout this experience. As my peers described, this experience has been transformational, humbling, inspiring, intense, affirming, bucket filling, and most of all, life-changing. From the abundance of resources, to the constant push to think and apply our course learnings, to the applicability of discussions to our day-to-day lives and work, our educational arsenal is overflowing. As I think of what's next, I can't help but think of the communities that we serve and the impact we want to have. This group, staff included, have dedicated their lives to working in education, even though, in my opinion, it's one of the most selfless and hardest careers one can choose. Hard because we are fighting daily challenges and forces designed to keep our communities down. And in a world filled with inequity and disparities, our communities face a never-ending cycle of disappointment and hardship. Hard because no matter how hard we fight, progress is slow and sometimes non-existent. Restrictions on what we can and can't teach, ongoing disinvestments in resources, facilities, programs, and constant political battles, often feeling like the interests of adults are being put over young people. Picture this. You're going into a 12-round fight, and before you even step into the ring, you're told you've already lost. Would you step in? Picture going to your dream interview and being told that you won't get the job before you even introduce yourself. Would you still interview? The world has been designed in a way to keep marginalized communities in a position of struggle. As educators, we deal with mountains put in our way daily, making it harder and harder to achieve equity and access for our communities. So I ask, with all of this stacked against us, why have we chosen education as our path? In your words, to spark change, to impact future generations, to fulfill the responsibility of providing access and equity to our communities, to create a path in a dead-end road. We chose education due to our belief system that regardless where you live, how much money your family earns, or the color of your skin, everyone deserves access to a great education and future, because it is the most promising lever to access the highest quality of life. Class of 2024, as we've connected, broken bread, and shared our leadership stories, each and every one of us has expressed challenges we've had to overcome, the experiences that have shaped us, and the people that have inspired us. Each and every one of us work in communities that have been forgotten, in communities that have been written off, in communities whose outcome has been predetermined. Each and every day, we're blessed to share the space with communities filled with potential, filled with endless hope. But in a world designed to break and keep them down, we have to give them a fighting chance to grow and flourish. We have to believe and invest in them and continue to push forward no matter the challenge, no matter the obstacle, no matter the mountain we have to climb. Because as my colleague and friend Cecilia Melgares said it best, if not us, then who? And although the inequities that have existed for hundreds of years may not be solved in our lifetime, we are the catalyst of change for our children, our grandchildren, and future generations to come. And as my colleague Yvonne and friend Yvonne stressed and Martin Luther King preached, we must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. As I close, I want to leave you with a story just to reflect the impact you're having, and a story of how just one educator can change your life. Imagine you're a 15-year-old young person whose family was plagued by poverty. His mom struggled with addiction, mental health illness. He was kicked out of his home, so he was homeless. He didn't know even if he would have enough to eat on any given day. And somehow, some way, he had to step up and care and raise his younger siblings. In addition to all of this, he almost lost his life due to gun violence, one that almost took his and resulted in the tremendous loss of another. He was still in school. He loved baseball, and he was part of a baseball team. He went to practice as a way to cope, but instead began to lash out to the burden of life's daily struggles. His coach and teacher kicked him out and sent him home. As that 15-year-old young person stood in the room alone, feeling defeated, starting to settle into the belief that people that look like him and came from where he came from, this is what life was meant to be. But in that lonely, defeating moment, his coach and teacher walked in. And despite not knowing all the details of this young man's struggle, he told him the greatness that he saw within him. And because of this greatness, he was going to push this young person to limits he didn't think capable of. He told this young person that because of his greatness, people would try to keep him down, keep him struggling. But as long as he had hope and belief in himself and unwavering determination, in the end, his greatness would lead him to heights he could never imagine. He offered shelter, he offered love, he offered support, he offered constant pushes for this young person to be his best no matter what. This coach and educator's name was Mr. Juan Quesada, who's in our presence today. And that 15-year-old young person was me. Despite my life circumstances and challenges, Mr. Quesada, or as I call him, Q, gave me hope, gave me love, gave me encouragement that I needed, that has ultimately led me to this moment to have the honor of speaking to you. And I can confidently say, I would not be here without him. So class of 2024, as I close, remind yourselves, there's gonna be future mountains, there will be future challenges, and there's gonna be many, many more struggles. But remember, it only takes one educator to change a life, and in this room, we got more than 31. So let's be sure to continue to inspire hope in those who've lost it, to ignite a community of champions for young people to fight for what's rightfully theirs. And lastly, to let every young person we come across know the greatness within them. Every kid deserves a locker room moment. Let's work tirelessly to ensure that each child has a person there with them to help them see their greatness. Thank you, and congrats, class of 2024.
Thank you so much to Jorge, Yvonne, and Rami for those powerful remarks. Self-graduation, which I'll explain in a moment, is a Yale SOM tradition that began at the very first commencement ceremony of the school. Another tradition is for you, the graduating class, to stand, turn, and face the audience and applaud families, friends, and supporters who sacrificed in many ways to make your time at Yale SOM possible. Please join me in celebrating and thanking your loved ones. So we will now proceed to self-graduation for the Master's in Public Education Management students. Self-graduation is a tradition at the Yale School of Management where our graduates announce the names of their classmates in lieu of a more traditional roll call. As the first cohort member comes forward in recognition of their graduation by Dean Charles, the next member will announce the graduate's name. Each graduate will do the same, and we will announce the name of the last graduate. So I now call on Dean Charles to step forward and ask the graduates to begin the procession.
Shatara Marie Benson. Eric Deshaun Bonner. Anthony Thomas Duarte.
Anthony Winchester Morel Jr. Jennifer Seth John. Jessica Amanda Cooper.
Alberi Krishna Hello Rona.
Manuel Kite Ramos.
Gina D'Addario.
Brian Dickey.
Rami Fernandez.
Michelle Gig.
Miriam Hernandez Velasquez.
Sheil Jagani.
Ashley Nicole Jones.
Eva Laguerre.
Virginia Lee.
Cindy Leganier.
Ariana Simone Martin.
Cecilia Isabel Melagares.
Danica Shalise Bew McDavis Mitchell.
Mark Peck.
Jill Quinn Pineda. Sarah Sanchez.
Jessica Spomer.
Roberto Trevino.
Helen Zoe Hoffman.
Justin Vigil.
Hannah Grace Wheeler.
Yvonne Antoinette Williams.
Savina Woodyard. Congratulations, graduates. We are so honored to celebrate each of you today, and it's been a privilege to be on this journey with each and every one of you. I know this thanks has been given a few times, but I just want to thank one more time all the staff at SOM who have helped make this very special day happen, everyone from the Broad Center team who has been part of your journey from the very beginning, and a special thanks to David Negron, Director of Academic and Student Affairs. And to Emma Remsberg, Assistant Director of Program Operations. All of us at the Broad Center will continue to be here to support you as you continue on this journey. We can't wait to see all that you will do and lead going forward. Not just what you will do, but also how you will do it. How you will continue to support each other when times get tough. how you will find or create joy and laughter wherever you go, and how you will continue to challenge and push each other in this work, help each other see the blind spots, ask the additional question, listen to those that we serve. And most of all, we're excited to see what your dedication and the way in which you model leadership will ultimately mean for our students, families, and communities. We are so proud of each and every one of you. The stage party will now retire, followed by our faculty and then graduates, so that we can enjoy lunch and celebrate together. We ask guests to stay clear of the walkway until the end. This concludes our ceremony. Congratulations once again to our graduates.